Right now at 6, one-on-one with the acting police chief in a town roiled by growing allegations of abuse and misconduct by school staff.
We investigate crimes, and if we get notified that there's been a crime or criminal behavior, then of course then we get involved.
Plus, a verdict in the trial of a Beaverton teen accused of a horrific crime and tried as an adult.
Then, cinder blocks rained down from a freeway overpass, leading to some incredibly close calls.
That debris had actually penetrated the hood of the box truck and damaged the engine.
And a post-pandemic progress report for Oregon schools, where gains are being made, as well as the areas needing improvement.
Good evening, and let's get right to breaking news on the Trump transition, with the president-elect picking Oregon Congresswoman Lori Chavez DeRemer as his nominee to lead the Labor Department. The Republican narrowly lost re-election against Democrat Janelle Bynum earlier this month, and over the course of her campaign received strong backing from union members in her district.
As a potential labor secretary, Chavez DeRemer would oversee the Labor Department's workforce and its budget, and among other responsibilities would influence workers' wages, health, safety, and ability to unionize, as well as employers' rights to fire employees. The Senate will have to confirm her before she takes the post. We've reached out to the Congresswoman and have not yet heard back, but we'll update you when we do. Now to the ongoing investigation into several teachers and administrators in the St. Helens School District. Today, we caught up with the acting police chief for an update.
We're going to hear from him in just a moment, but first, here is where things stand. 2 teachers have been arrested by police and charged with sex abuse. A third is a middle school teacher who police say is under investigation. In addition to the 2 teachers who are already charged, the state is also looking into the superintendent and high school principal, both currently on leave, who are accused of not reporting abuse complaints. And finally, it's also looking into 2 other staff members accused of sexual abuse.
Devin Haskins is live in St. Helens tonight. Devin, you spoke with the acting police chief. What did he tell you?
Didn't divulge too much information about this middle school teacher investigation, saying though that it's still under investigation right now and that it could take time if any charges are filed in this case. That's because the victims in this case are minors compared to the adults that came forward in the abuse allegations and charges against those 2 teachers last week. St. Helens acting police chief Joseph Hogue says detectives were notified on Thursday about allegations made by several middle school students.
About what we will call at this point offensive physical contact that they had with a teacher.
He did say it was touching, but would not say if it was sexual. The allegations stretch back into last school year and into this school year, all involving middle school students. The difference between the cases last week and this one involves minors and will take longer to investigate.
The difference between the case now and the case we spoke about last week is the age of the victims. You know, these are middle school age kids, so the interview process is a lot different for these kids. They need to be given forensic interviews at child abuse assessment centers, which of course need to be scheduled in advance with parents and all of that.
It's the latest investigation brought forth in the St. Helens School District. Eric Stearns, a choir teacher, and Mark Collins, a retired math teacher, were arrested and charged on several counts of sexual abuse dating back at least 9 years.
Upon sending one out on the high school investigation, that did identify more victims that the detectives are working towards.
Stearns, Collins, and 2 other school employees are being investigated by the state for sexual abuse. We aren't naming the other 2 because they haven't been charged with the crime. Hogue says police haven't been made aware of any criminal activity against the unnamed 2.
We investigate crimes, and if we get notified that there's been a crime or criminal behavior, then of course then we get involved. A personnel investigation or an investigation done by DHS could in fact show that. And now if that happens, then we would be involved from a criminal standpoint at that point.
Katie Wagner, the principal at St. Helens High School, and Scott Stockwell, the district superintendent, are both on leave, both being investigated by the state for failing to report child abuse. The school board announced it would look for an interim superintendent, and on Thursday, Governor Tina Kotek applying pressure for the board to act fast, saying If this expectation is not met within 14 days, I am prepared to escalate the state's engagement with the district and make a recommendation for an interim superintendent. The St. Helens School Board says it'll hold a meeting on Monday where they will present a potential interim school superintendent to the community. Christine and David.
So many developments in a short period of time. Devin Haskins reporting from St. Helens. Thank you, Devin. Meantime, today we received new information on the retired teacher, Mark Collins, charged last week with sex abuse involving students. The Scappoose School District said Collins taught as a substitute at the high school 7 times from last October to February of this year. Last November, a student reported hearing what they interpreted as pornography close to where Collins was sitting. The district said Collins was never under investigation during his time in Scappoose, but he can no longer sub there.
In your headlines, Portland police have identified the man who was killed in a shooting Monday evening as 35-year-old Mark Hawley. Hawley died after he was shot near Northeast Fremont and 158th in the Wilkes neighborhood. Police haven't said what led up to the shooting. No word on any suspects or arrests.
A man who killed a Portland couple when he crashed a speeding U-Haul pickup into their car has been found guilty of manslaughter. In October of last year, prosecutors say 30-year-old Jalen Benjamin was driving 100 miles per hour down Northeast Lombard when he hit an SUV that was turning onto 33rd Avenue. James and Lisa Johnson, both in their 60s, were killed in the crash. The case went to trial after Benjamin rejected a plea agreement. His sentencing date has not yet been set.
In Clark County, authorities are looking for the person who threw cinder blocks off a Vancouver overpass and onto vehicles below. At least 3 cars were hit, though somehow no one was hurt. Washington State Patrol says this was between 1:30 and 2:30 Thursday morning along I-205 at 4th Plain. As of this morning, there haven't been any arrests.
We don't have a description. We did get one person that had called in, another motorist that called in that witnessed the debris falling onto one of the vehicles, which was very helpful. So we know exactly what was happening up there. So we do know for a fact that there was someone up there sending objects off the overpass.
State Patrol tells us whoever did this could be charged with a felony.
Highway 6 between Banks and Tillamook is fully reopened tonight. The road was closed Wednesday after a sunken grade developed in a slide-prone area a few miles west of Glenwood. It reopened to 1 lane yesterday with a flagger letting traffic through. ODOT says more repairs made overnight held up, so both lanes reopened today. They'll keep monitoring the area for any problems.
And Central Oregon is now a quick flight away any day of the week and any time of the year. Alaska Airlines just announcing the return of year-round daily flights between PDX and Redmond. That direct route was dropped during the pandemic, requiring a connection in Seattle. Alaska brought it back last winter as a seasonal route, but those flights ended in April. Now there will be at least 1 nonstop daily flight to and from PDX with a second flight on peak travel days. Matt?
Well, that's good news for travelers going to Central Oregon for sure. Outside in Portland right now, it's pretty good. The showers have mainly ended. It hasn't rained for a while, 49 degrees up at the Oregon Zoo. As you can see there, it is raining again at Newport. Still a bit breezy, but the winds are all generally below 20 or 25 miles an hour. Nothing like it was this morning when we had some stronger gusts. You can see the showers, though. Nothing in the Portland area yet, but I can't promise you it'll stay dry all night long. It won't, and we'll get more showers coming in over the weekend, too. But all in all, the weather will really be settling down, and why not? We've already had over 5 inches of rain this month, so we've certainly had our fair share, above average by over an inch. So, as I said, northwest weather beginning to settle down. No bomb cyclones, no atmospheric rivers, nothing that's wild. In fact, other than the weekend showers, pretty mellow. And in fact, we go into what may be an extended period of dry weather beginning next week. We'll take a closer look at the Thanksgiving weather, travel weather in a bit. Guys, back to you.
Can't wait to hear all about it. Thank you, Matt. Guilty on all counts. That is the verdict in the murder trial of a teenager tried as an adult accused of sexually assaulting and killing a 13-year-old in Beaverton.
A warning, some of the details here are disturbing. Evan Watson breaks down the jury's decision.
A Washington County jury took less than 90 minutes to unanimously agree on a verdict. Daniel Gore was found guilty of raping and killing 13-year-old Milana Lee. Gore was a 16-year-old runaway at the time of this crime. Gore was tried as an adult rather than a juvenile, an unusual case in Oregon following recent criminal justice reforms. A judge did not allow our cameras into the courtroom. Gore did not show much of a reaction or emotion when the judge read his verdict. A family member of Milana Lee's cried when she heard the news. The evidence in this case was particularly gruesome. Investigators found Gore's DNA inside of Lee. She was strangled to death in the woods near where Gore stayed in a tent. They found Gore's blanket covering her body. Investigators tracked Lee and Gore's cell phone together after the crime, and Gore initially lied to detectives about when he last saw Lee. Friends of Gore also testified that he admitted to doing something bad and later handling it. Milana Lee was a 6th grade student at Conestoga Middle School in Beaverton. She was reported missing, prompting a community-wide search and a big showing of support for her family once investigators found her body. The defense had argued that a different man, a mystery man, killed Gore because they found a different man's DNA underneath her fingernails. They also pointed to the lack of evidence from Milana Lee and her DNA on Gore's clothing. But in the end, the jury didn't take long to reach this unanimous decision of guilty on all counts. Gore will be sentenced on December 2nd, and he faces a longer sentence since he was tried as an adult rather than a juvenile. In Hillsborough, Evan Watson reporting.